Hey, what's up YouTube? Alex here, and I've had a lot of questions recently about how did you go from working in the financial world to just betting on sports all day long? So I figured I'd kind of go through it because I've been sports betting very seriously for the past 5 years. This year I'm up over $200,000. So this verified bet tracker that I use is called Pickett Sports. And essentially all it does is it reads in your bets from all sports books and then shows you your profit and loss. But regardless, I've been betting on sports really seriously for 5 years, so I kind of wanted to go through, and I think it's helpful to explain how did I get into the world of sharp, profitable sports betting? What are some things I learned, some tips and strategies that have been helpful along the way? And that's what we're going to do in this video. So if you enjoy this type of content on sharp, data-driven sports betting, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also let me know other video ideas you have. But anyways, growing up, I loved sports. I was a big fan of sports. I played sports, although I wasn't very good, and I loved watching the Washington football teams. So I'm from Virginia. So I'm a big Commanders, Washington football team, Washington Redskins fan, as well as the Nationals and the Wizards. And in school, I was always good at math, but really I never gambled until I got into college. So once I got into college, where I was studying math, kind of computer stuff, I started playing poker for fun. Some friends, maybe my freshman year of college, introduced me to poker, and I really liked it, right? Because the mathematical appeal, learning poker strategy, the math behind it, how much should you raise, when should you call versus when should you fold, I thought was really exciting, and just putting down money to win money, risking capital for a return, I thought was really exciting. So in college, on weekends, I would spend a lot of time going to casinos, playing poker, but really it started out with poker YouTube videos. Like I spent thousands of hours watching poker YouTubers, professional poker players kind of go through the math, optimal betting strategy, and that really appealed to me, right? I wasn't playing slots, some stupid game with no skill component. I wanted to make money. I, am decent at math, so I really got attracted to the idea of playing poker. So I got really into it. I played a lot of poker. Granted, I wasn't the best player in the world, but I spent a lot of time learning about poker, started out going to casinos, just playing the minimum hand, and as I saw, hey, I'm pretty good at this, I started ramping up my bet size as I got more educated in poker strategy. But while I was in college, I didn't really have any money, so I realized I had to get a job. And I started looking at, what do people do full-time after college? I didn't want a boring job, so trading appealed to me, right? If you think about what is trading, if you take a job on Wall Street or at a hedge fund, what are you as a trader? You're just a full-time gambler in financial markets, right? For the most part, you're not gambling your own money. So I took my job at Susquehanna International Group, which is one of the top trading firms in the US, if not the top trading firm. It's an amazing place to work, but regardless, I wanted to gamble. I knew I liked poker. I knew I was good at math. So I wanted a full-time job where I got a stable income that kind of had those components. So what I learned, just kind of talking to people who worked in trading, is basically you're just a full-time gambler. You're gambling the firm's money. So in the case of Susquehanna, I'm gambling the founder's money and for an expected return. So I thought that was really exciting. I worked at a bunch of different trading firms. I interned at a bunch of different trading firms before I ultimately took a full-time job in trading. And I thought Susquehanna International Group, which by the way is the most amazing company in the world, I highly recommend anybody who loves to gamble, you consider applying there. You literally get to play poker at work because they are huge believers in understanding the math behind gambling, right? So what I mean by that is trading is very mathematical. It's very data driven. So when I started out at Susquehanna or SIG, they literally don't even let you trade. They don't let you actually trade for like the first year. I mean, they are teaching you all sorts of stuff about the math behind trading, how options work, optimal strategy, right? Like, this is a science. I learned that gambling is a science. There's no luck. There's no BS. These firms are printing billions of dollars in profit a year, the top trading firms, the top investment banks, and it is a science, right? Nobody is waking up and just saying, oh, well, I think I'll buy Facebook today. That's not how trading works. It's very mathematical, data-driven. You have to learn a lot about probability, markets, managing risk. So long story short, I started my job at Susquehanna. So I would go to work, and I was working in Philadelphia. So in Pennsylvania is kind of where the firm is. And I would spend my entire day gambling in financial markets, other people's money. I was an options trader. And then I would get home from work and I would play poker. I would go to the casinos, play poker. I'm really good at gambling, or at least better than your average Joe at gambling. I was good in financial markets. I was also good at poker. I'm not good at a lot of things, but gambling is definitely something I'm passionate about, good at, and interested in. I think it's fun. Gambling money and actually making money long term, that always appealed to me. But long story short, I think it was 2018, sports betting used to be not regulated, illegal in the United States. That was appealed by the Supreme Court. So essentially, kind of like abortion, kind of like marijuana regulation, states could legalize, have sports betting, but it was done on a state-by-state basis. So even to this day, in Texas, there's no FanDuel, there's no DraftKings, there's no regulated sports books. You still have some options if you're in Texas, like sweepstakes books, fantasy sports, but you don't have FanDuel, you don't have DraftKings. So I was living in Pennsylvania, and I think two of the first three states to legalize sports betting were Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And I literally, living in Philly, I lived on the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So all I did with my life, I mean, I had no hobbies, right? I don't really work out. I don't do anything like that. I gambled. I played a lot of poker, and I went to work, and I was a full-time gambler in financial markets as a trader. So when sports betting legalized, I started seeing a ton of ads, for all these sports books that were entering Pennsylvania as well as New Jersey. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, they all had $1,000 deposit matches, stuff like that. People at work, the other traders I worked with, they were full-time gamblers, so they liked to gamble, and they were really smart. They spent years gambling in complex financial markets, trading things like oil, all these complex things. So when sportsbooks legalized, a lot of people were interested in it. And I didn't have a lot of money, I just started my career, but I thought these sign-up bonuses were super attractive. People at work were doing them. All these sports books are commodity businesses, so they're competing for new customers. So all of these books were offering deposit matches, risk-free bets, things like that. So I talked to a lot of my colleagues, kids my age who worked at, Susquehanna, and we kind of started to piece together how to take advantage of these initial sign-up offers. So that's the reason I signed up for FanDuel and DraftKings. It's not like I wanted to get home from work and bet on the Lakers. I wanted to make money. I just left college a few years ago. I didn't have much money. I, saw an ad for a FanDuel $1,000 deposit match. You put in $1,000, you get $1,000 for free, and I wanted to analyze it and figure out how I could make money off it. So that's really how I started gambling. I made maybe even $10,000 my first month of sports betting just doing sign-up bonuses. In the United States, sports books are legal in states on a state-by-state basis. So there were sports books in New Jersey that were not in Pennsylvania. So what I did on weekends is I, would drive from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, do the sign-up bonuses on New Jersey sports books, go back to Pennsylvania. I took advantage of all the Pennsylvania sign-up offers. A lot of these books, when they first launched, they were really focused on growth, getting new customers. So they had pretty lucrative deposit matches. So I took advantage of all these sign-up bonuses, deposit matches, stuff like that. And at that point, I was hooked on sports betting. Colorado, I think, was the second or third state to legalize sports betting. I saw that the sports book, Sports Illustrated, they just launched, they had a $7,500 risk-free bet, which is a lot of money, right? Like if you lose your first bet up to 7.5K, I made a YouTube video about this, by the way, you get your money back. I mean, that's insane, right? You bet $7,500 on the Lakers. If they win, you keep the profit. If they lose, you get your money back. So if you go through the math behind these risk-free bets, which I've done other YouTube videos on, I mean, a $7,500 risk-free bet is worth a lot of money. I mean, thousands of dollars in profit. So on long weekends, stuff like that, I started traveling to other states that had legalized sports betting, like Colorado, just to take advantage of these sign-up offers. Because I understood deposit matches, risk-free bets, how to maximize profit off of them. So basically, in my first few months of sports betting, I was just taking advantage of promos, deposit matches, ripping them, and I was making tens of thousands of dollars, which was a lot of money for a kid who just left college. So at that point, I was hooked on sports betting. I was using sportsbooks daily, getting home from work and looking through sportsbook promos for risk-free bets, new deposit matches. And I realized, hey, this is a pretty good side hustle. I wonder if there's other ways you can make money sports betting. So I spent a lot of time talking to other traders who, again, are really good gamblers, as well as just researching on my own, right? I spent literally thousands of hours researching how do pro sports bettors make money? How do sharp bettors make money? Sports betting is amazing because the market is open 24/7. You know, when I went into work as a trader, markets close at 4 p.m., right? Like almost every market, not crypto, but at least what I was trading, at 4 p.m., the bell rings, there's no more trading. So what was awesome about sports betting is I could get home from work. Most of the games on the East Coast are late at night. And I could take advantage of not only sportsbook promos and look through them, but I could also bet on sports if I wanted to, and I could learn the strategies to make money. So I spent hundreds of hours learning how do the sharps, how do the pros do it. So I avoided all of content from people like Vegas Dave, who are just selling picks. Oh, the Lakers are a lock. I knew that was BS. Right? I'm too data driven to fall for that BS. But I spent hundreds of hours watching YouTube videos, learning about strategies that are proven to make money long term, like arbitrage, like middle betting, like positive EV betting. I spent hours learning the math behind sports betting. How do sports books work? What are fair odds? How does a book determine odds? When does a book decide to move odds? I spent a ton of time. I invested a lot in my betting education. And I ultimately got really turned on to arbitrage. So I made some money from these, sportsbook sign-up bonuses. And essentially what arbitrage betting is, it's a strategy, a risk-free betting strategy, which is insane. But you'll see hundreds of people talking about how much money they're making arbitrage betting on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter. There are tons of people making money with this strategy nowadays. I learned about arbitrage. Okay, so what arbitrage is it's when you can hedge for a guaranteed profit. So all sports books want to be unique. They all set their own odds. So when two books get super out of sync, you can bet equal and opposite outcomes, maybe the over on FanDuel, the under on DraftKings, and you can guarantee a profit. So it is a risk-free form of betting. You make risk-free money if you're doing it correctly. So it's incredible, right? Because there were hundreds of sports books that had launched in the United States, dozens in Pennsylvania, dozens in New Jersey, right? All these books are trying to set their own odds. So essentially, these books get out of sync often. The market, especially when sports books first launched in the US, when it first legalized, it was a super inefficient betting market. Bet the over on FanDuel, under on DraftKings, make a risk-free $20. That would pay for beer for the weekend. I loved it. So I would get home from work and I would just scan the market. I was doing this manually, which is insane. Okay, so I would get home from work, I would look at all these sports books for discrepancies and try to make a risk-free profit with arbitrage betting. As my bankroll kind of grew, I mean, I would aim before I went to bed to make $100 of risk-free profit. I would get home from work at 5 p.m., open up the sports books, one tab for each book, look through them all, look for discrepancies, follow, injury updates and look for discrepancies between books when lineup news came out. And I started making some serious cash. So ultimately, that's what drove me to get into sports betting full time. As I was making money with promos and then arbitrage betting, these were the main two strategies I was using initially, is taking advantage of profitable promos and arbitrage betting, a way to make risk-free money. I spent a lot more time invested in learning about profitable sports betting. I read papers, I watched limitless YouTube videos, limitless Reddit threads, kind of learning about all these different strategies. And ultimately, at some point, I loved my job, I loved trading, but ultimately, at some point, it was like, dang, I'm making $10,000 a month on the side as a side hustle, sports betting. Why am I going to work? All right? In Pennsylvania, I could spend some time in Virginia with my family. I'm initially from Virginia. I could travel to different states, do all these sportsbook sign-up bonuses, make money arbitrage betting. I spent time investing in my betting education. So I knew how to beat the sports books. I knew I was smarter, more educated than 99% of sports bettors. And I don't say that in a way to mean I'm naturally smarter. I say that in a way to mean, I'd spent thousands of hours, right, learning about these profitable betting strategies, the ins and outs of sports books, how sports books work. Whereas most people open up FanDuel and just bet random parlays with their gut, I knew the ins and outs of every single book. Everything you need to know about sports betting and making money, I understood to a T. So ultimately, I felt comfortable being like, wow, let's dive in. And obviously, I've lived in different places, so I've used hundreds of different sports books at this point. Some books have cut me off, so I've been limited. So for example, Underdog Fantasy is a sports book in 2022 and 2023. I made over $40,000 on Underdog Fantasy. And then they limited me to $25 max bet size. So I'm not able to bet as much money, but there's always new sports books popping up. So for example, Dabble and Better, which are two other books that I'm now limited on. Dabble launched, I think in 2024, early 2024 in like January. I made a quick $30,000 on it. Now they've cut down my bet size to a max of $47.25, but I had a good run on Dabble, which helped my January profit be high. Then Jake Paul, he launched Better, which is another fantasy site. And there was a ton of profitable betting opportunities on Better. I made $70,000 in a couple months, and then I got limited, right? So now I can only bet $100 per day, not even per bet, only $100 per day. That's the max they allow me to do on Better. So you're constantly dealing with setbacks as a sports bettor, but it's really about being opportunistic, signing up for all these books, taking advantage of all the profitable promos. For example, the sportsbook Fliff, at the start of the NBA season, had LeBron to score 1 point at plus 100 odds. It's a promo for the sportsbooks. It's a marketing cost, but that is literally free money, which is insane. And obviously you want to be taking advantage of these things. So every day I'm hunting through the sports books for profitable promos, as well as positive ROI or positive EV, positive expected value bets, like arbitrage bets, middle bets, and positive EV bets. So ultimately, that's kind of how I got into sports betting. I went from liking sports and liking math to getting into poker to ultimately entering the financial industry and learning a ton about how markets work, how gambling works in general, and learning from a lot of people who are much smarter than me and have been gambling, at the top hedge funds and prop trading firms for a long time. I learned a lot from them. And then I just applied it to sports betting. I realized these books aren't that smart. Most sports bettors spend zero effort in learning about the math behind sports betting and actually trying to make money. People are just degenerates. So you don't need that big of a leg up to actually start to make serious money and be 99% better than the average sports bettor. And now at this point, I make tons of content on profitable sports betting, things like arbitrage, positive EV, middle betting. I've done thousands of YouTube videos on how to make money on the sports books with these strategies. You'll see tons of people online talking about arbitrage, middle betting, positive EV betting, and how much money you can make with these strategies. But regardless, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments, other video ideas too. And I really appreciate you watching, you tuning in and supporting. But yeah, I love sports betting, man.